Hey, Prime members, are you tired of ads interfering with your favorite podcasts? Good news! With Amazon Music, you have access to the largest catalog of ad-free top podcasts included with your Prime membership. To start listening, download the Amazon Music app for free or go to amazon.com/ad-free podcasts. That's amazon.com/ad-free podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
If you're a parent or share a fridge with someone, Instacart is about to make grocery shopping so much easier. Because with family carts, you can share a cart with your partner and each add the items you want. Since between the two of you, odds are you'll both remember everything you need. And this way, you'll never have to eat milkless cereal again. So minimize the stress of the weekly shop with family carts. Download the Instacart app and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply for 3 orders in 14 days. Excludes restaurants.
Hello and welcome to this. It is the EggChasers Rugby podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. My microphone's falling over already. Literally as I said hello.
Come on. It took me a year to convince you to get new microphones. Just get a new mic stand.
For fuck's sake. What a disaster. Anyway, the podcast doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. I'm JB.
Or it's infrastructure.
Infrastructure. We have the infrastructure of England right now. Tim, how are you?
Not England rugby, the actual country.
Yeah, the actual country.
With everything falling apart.
Yeah. I talk of infrastructure. Have you got infrastructure socks on?
I have got transport TfL socks, the London Underground.
Where on earth did you get a pair of those?
Christmas.
I think my mum got me. My mum always.
Philip goes to London quite a lot. I'll get him some underground socks.
I've very rarely buy fancy socks off flash socks, but I get given some for Christmas and birthdays and stuff.
They are very fancy.
I like the thought of you just crossing your leg, pulling up your trouser leg and just inspecting it to work out where you're going.
Oh, no, I just like him showing a bit of flesh with some sexy sock. Like a man that's into infrastructure. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. So, what a weekend of rugby. I've had a great weekend of rugby. I don't know about you boys.
I saw your result.
Oh, my
Big
word.
win.
My word. What a game.
Didsbury Toc H have taken, and there's a lot of this going on at the minute in rugby where league promotions and relegations are coming to a crescendo, and Didsbury Toc H at level 7.
Level 7, heading to level 6 with a bit of luck. But
well, they've taken it to the final day, and the final match in the whole league is the top 2. West Park hosting the challengers Didsbury in second place. And I've actually crunched the numbers for you as well, JB. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you.
I think, maybe I'm wrong, I think we need to win by more than 7 and with a bonus point.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay. So I thought it was a bonus point, more than 7, and they can't get any bonus points. So it's hard.
So if it's a close, low-scoring game, then a win by 8 or more will mean you win. You go up on points difference.
Okay.
If they get a try bonus, then you have to get a try bonus as well and beat them by 8.
Right, so they cannot get 2 bonus points.
No, correct.
Good Lord, this is going to be one hell of a ding-dong.
As long as you beat them by 8 and then match their number of tries, you go up.
So I'll tell you about Friday's game. Friday Night Lights over at Wilmslow. Now Wilmslow have been all the way up to, I think, level 5 at one point, and they've come all the way back down. And as far as I can see, they're finding their feet again big time, because this was a good side that we faced. Super physical. I mean, how they're not challenging more seriously this year, I do not know. Super physical. We go up by, I would say, at least 10. At least 10. We scored 1 try. We had to kick all of our points, and they scored 3. So it gives you an idea of how close this thing was. It was agony. Right until the end, it was agony. I reckon there must have been more than a couple of, 400 people there.
Really?
Yeah, so a lot of lads from West Park came down to watch.
Yeah.
Obviously, Didsbury's got 3 teams.
Because they would have won the league had you lost.
Yeah, exactly. Not only that, they set up their VO so they could watch it live, either at their clubhouse or on their social media channels. So they were ready to go, ready to win. Wilmslow will be back up at level 6 in absolutely no time. I guarantee it. As for West Park next week, there's a lot of chat going on at the moment.
Podcast that.
Yeah. About obviously, they would have preferred if they'd have won it because we lost to Wilmslow, just get it over and done. But a lot of, isn't it great that the two best teams are meeting on Saturday? They don't mean that. They don't mean that at all. But they're going to be bloody good. Because I remember these guys 2 years ago when they beat us last game of the season, and we were probably a better version of what we are now, and they beat us. They beat us with 19, I don't know if you remember, but 19-year-olds and 18-year-olds in the side. They're really, really quite good. And they're led by legend Paul Arnold, who's still playing.
Friend of the pod.
Yeah.
Has been playing for...
As long as I have and longer.
25 years.
You mentioned my brother playing England counties or Championship 15, well, both, in fact, on last week's pod or the week before, I can't remember, whatever. But in both occasions, he was second row with Arnie.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And he's played for at least half a dozen, probably more, National League teams. Yeah. He played for Sedge. He played for West Park. He played for Caldy, Preston. He played for Moseley, Fylde. Yeah, Birmingham Moseley played against him there, and probably others as well in between. He might have played at Nottingham for a little bit.
Maybe.
I think he did, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Absolute legend in the game.
Just track his moves to work out where the benefactors were. That's what I would say.
Very handy player. Knows his way to the try line as well.
Yeah.
Let us know if there's any league finales happening, big league campaigns that I mentioned. So Friday night is that Richmond versus Rams game, which could see Richmond effectively going up from the Championship.
Yeah.
I know that it's all on the last day in our favourite regional to London and South East.
Is it?
Or regional two counties. Thames regional.
So that'll be London
two.
Scottish, and who?
London Scottish will be going up, but at the bottom you've got second bottom Old Habs, third bottom Aylesbury, fourth bottom Marlow, and Old Habs trying to survive with Hemel Hempstead.
Goodness me, tight.
Yeah. You were at Wilmslow on Friday night.
I was.
I happened upon Wilmslow today.
Oh.
This afternoon I was at Wilmslow. Well,
minis and juniors?
Well, no, I was at the Cars Park, which is on, as you drive to it by road, is on completely the opposite end of Wilmslow.
Yes.
But I didn't know it basically backs on across the river to... They are the opposite end. They're the furthest part of Wilmslow apart from each other.
Yeah.
Except that's by road because you have to loop all the way around.
Yeah.
They're right next to each other geographically. And was with Thomas and Hannah. They're cycling their bikes and I heard a whistle blowing and a bit of a cheer of a crowd. I was like, I'm going to follow that sound.
Absolutely. Rightly so.
Came out into Wilmslow, watched 20 minutes of Wilmslow Colts versus Chester Colts. Within 5 seconds of us arriving, high tackle, yellow card. Great start. And then quite a nice try by Chester. Some horrendous missed line-outs because the wind was...
Yeah, it's windy over there.
It was really windy. But quite good fun.
I'll just tell a quick Wilmslow story from the weekend.
Okay. I was going to say, is it quick? Because we could save it. We've been...
This blows my mind, right? This blows my mind. So I left my bag there on Friday night. So I showed up Saturday morning.
Very, very unlike you.
Yeah, it's very unlike me. So showed up there Saturday morning. And I go to Wilmslow Rugby Club, but I'm like, it must surely be open. It's a rugby club. It's Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Closed. I said, what's the time? 10:30? Or maybe no one, maybe just fine, whatever. No one's there. So disappear, do some shopping, come back, 3:00. A rugby club on a Saturday must be open, right?
Nothing,
not a soul.
What?
So I go home again, and like 5:30, I give him a call. Someone picks up. I go, I've left my bag. Can I come pick it up? She goes, if you come in the next half hour, right? Because we've got a function. So that's fine. Just get my bag, leave it outside, and I'll get it. Oh no, we can't do that. I was like, you can't do that. Right, okay. So I need to be from Didsbury into Wilmslow in half an hour. So I can probably make that. What if I'm late? Because you can't come in. We've got a private function. They've hired out the whole room. There's just no way. You can't be ruining the function. It's like, oh Christ! It must be the Masons or something. Like it must be, I don't know. It must be someone. Must be someone very important. So I get there. I walk in. Do you know what the function is?
Wedding?
Under 12's football presentation. Under 12's football presentation, and my bag is literally in the middle of their clubhouse, right in the middle of their clubhouse. And I'm thinking, like, you can't possibly think for a second, right, that Me getting my bag from the middle of the room is better than having the bag there for the presentation. This can't be a thing. So I nipped in, got the bag, didn't disturb a single 12-year-old, unusually, and then went.
Great organisation, as always, from a very fine club.
A very fine club, I might add.
Did you watch much rugby this weekend, aside like proper rugby on telly?
Most of it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Managed to dip in and out. I did miss Bath Quins in the flesh. So I was doing a little walk. Mm-hmm. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen most of it.
Yeah.
You? So
you will have seen...
You've probably seen something niche.
I saw a little bit of URC. I saw lots of top 14.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something. I've seen Connacht, great. I've seen Lions, fantastic.
Well, okay. So here's one thing I just wanted to throw in there. So I just thought it was a really stark contrast between the top 14 in the Premiership, and this weekend the two bottom teams both played each other in both leagues.
Okay.
Okay.
Van played against Perpignan, and it went down to the final second, the final kick of the match from Tommy Allen, got a 20-all draw.
Tommy Allen?
Yeah, and Kieran Brooks won a scrum penalty on Mako Vunipola to give him a bit of field position to win the match, to draw the match.
Van's Perpignan, okay.
Yeah. So that was Van Perpignan. The crowd was absolutely wild. The away fans travelled. There were drums. Van were led out by bagpiper and a drummer, and it was just the atmosphere looked insane. Exeter played against Newcastle Falcons.
Were they at Newcastle?
At Exeter.
At Exeter, Stanley Park. Because Van to Perpignan they are opposite ends of the country as well. So travelling fans, it's further than Newcastle to Exeter geographically, but it's correct. The same comparable distance because they're directly other ends of the country.
Exactly that. And the atmosphere was mad. And then Sandy Park, there were season ticket holders there, fine, but the noise was, I would say, muted at the end when Greg Fisselau scored a 79th minute winner that won the match for Exeter. Before the game, it was such that had Newcastle won, so with 2 minutes to go, the table would have been that Newcastle would have closed the gap to within 4 or possibly 3 points. Can't remember which. But as it is, Exeter are now 10 points clear.
Yeah.
So effectively, this was keeping the hopes of not finishing bottom alive or extinguishing hopes. So what I was thinking was this could have been the biggest match and the biggest moment of the rugby weekend.
You're not wrong, mate.
And no one cares. Not even really the Exeter fans or Newcastle players really cared.
Yeah. The only person who does care is Steve Diamond because he really hates losing, and Baxter.
I think Baxter's been more philosophical about it. Well, some good things happened, and we'll fix it tomorrow, and that kind of thing.
Did you see the Steve Diamond post-match interview?
I did not.
No, I didn't.
Basically, blame the referee.
Well, rightly so. It's not Diamond's fault, is it, idiots?
Now, I do. So, had the roles been reversed, Baxter would have been far more philosophical, exactly as you say. Dimes was right in what he was saying. There was a drop shot, elbow to the face in the third from last ruck or second from last ruck that should have been spotted at the time. It was straight off the feet and elbow to the face. Should have been spotted at the time. Should have been spotted by the TMO. But it doesn't actually matter. Exactly as you're just setting out, it doesn't matter. It's inconsequential for everybody.
Yeah, it's a bad attitude, that. I mean, obviously I have nothing but good things to say about Steve Diamond, but it is a bad attitude because you need to be more accountable. You just do.
It's always, we always say it.
There's never a single point of failure.
Never. No. What about the previous 79 minutes, 48 seconds, Steve?
Yeah.
What happened in all of that time that meant you were within one score?
If you leave it in the hands of the referee, sometimes referees are not as tame as you hope.
Yes. I mean, it should have been spotted, but precisely that. Yeah.
So for me, I've heard all the arguments counter it, and we don't need to rehash the promotion relegation. I just thought if you wanted a stark difference between the stories in the two respective leagues, you had an absolutely dynamite 80 minutes and an incredible finale where the noise was just going off in France. And who really, I've probably mentioned it, there's probably a lot of people, might be listening who don't actually know that that's how the game ended. Do you know, Greg Fisselau scored a last-minute try.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that, because I didn't even know the points difference. I just knew they were both at the bottom of the table, and I decided, I don't really want to watch this game. Now, I think if you're going to close off the league for right reasons or wrong reasons, you need to think of an incentive for why you would play those games. You might make the counter-argument that you look at the league, and now there's only, at the start of the weekend, there's only 3 teams that couldn't make it into the playoffs, I would say. So there is a trade-off, because you might look at the league...
At the start of the weekend, you maybe even say 2.
Yeah.
Because Northampton could... it doesn't mathematically, but it does end Northampton's hopes.
Yeah, Northampton are done.
Yeah, they could have... If they'd a win, 5-point win, they would have been far more interested.
And they're the champions, by the way.
Yeah.
So it gives you an idea of how competitive the league is in those... not in the top half, in the top 8, I guess. The top 8 is competitive. And I think Exeter next year will also be competitive. If you have a bigger league, like top 14, I imagine where you get your humdrum, not very interesting games will be in the middle. So there is always a trade-off. I do agree with you, though, Tim. Think about when Leicester Tigers were on the ropes, almost going down, playing Newcastle. Those were phenomenal games. They were absolutely phenomenal.
One of the greatest rugby matches, or series of rugby matches you'll ever see, the home and away Bristol-Worcester playoff games.
It's a classic. It's actually a classic.
It's actually a classic.
Yeah.
The ending of that second game is, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Just on your top 14 point, yes, there is a bit of separation between Toulouse, Bordeaux and Toulon, but beyond that, 4th place down to relegation, there's not that much in it, you know.
The reason I say that is not necessarily, it's not because there's so much in it. It's because I remember when the league was 12 strong in the Premiership and 1.13 strong. And the attempt of Sale to hype up getting in the European places, well, it's just not very exciting. It's just not. But there again, it's not very exciting working out who's going to be second from bottom with no consequences. So, there's always going to be something.
That is the other element of it. Almost, you could create a little more jeopardy by saying, you can't go in the elite club competition on earth if you finish 3rd bottom. I think it should be top 6 at most.
I completely agree.
Okay.
There should be consequences for having the season that Northampton are having.
Let me rehash a idea that I had back in the day, and everyone laughed at me, but it does square the circle.
The naughty step.
Right? You won't have heard this because last time I brought it up was 5 years ago. But
this is around the Saracen salary cap situation.
So, and also it solved another problem, right, which 13. Is uneven teams in leagues. So this is how it works. The teams are all centrally funded, right? Yada, 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 yada. So just imagine the money's not a problem. There's 11 teams in the league, except every year one team does not train. It basically has to be an invitational team which goes around, trying to find fixtures. It's banned from the competition. And every year, subsequent to them being relegated, they get brought back in. So it's not relegation. Your club's not over, it's not dead, but your stadium closes down for the entire year. You just get to watch your team play like the Met Police or, the Dirt Trackers from Australia or whoever it is.
Yeah, well, you'd get a couple of, like the Waratahs or Crusaders when they're having their warm-up games. You could host them. You could host like Australia A in the autumns. Yeah, you could host a few games. You could get an MLR game,
or maybe they get their central funding for going out and doing outreach.
They could do. There's all sorts
of things. So you go and play all around the world.
Yeah. Also, you need new players. Let's not mess about. So go to your local clubs with your current players and go and find some. I reckon if Exeter Chiefs spent a year on the naughty step, they'd be frightening. Imagine Rob Baxter tinkering with them for a year, and all of a sudden they show up with a bunch of 18-year-olds no one's ever heard of. And
what about
dynamite.
Here's another idea. Just so the team that finishes bottom, the head coach, maybe the day after relegation is confirmed, or on the final day of the season, has to do a version of Roman decimation. With their squad.
Yeah, 10% have got to go.
The whole squad are sat there and you have to hand them their P45s.
How about this, right? How about this? This is a great idea. So you finish bottom, right? The club that finished bottom, now it's an incentive to finish bottom rather than to avoid it, but bear with me. Whoever finishes bottom, right, has the option to select any Premiership coaching team that they want. So every year, it's like the draft, except we don't have a draft. The only difference is all coaches have to be centrally contracted. So you finish bottom, next year you get to select whoever you want as a club to coach your team. Great idea.
I'm less sure about that. I mean, the whole thing, it never worked, but it's quite fun to talk about. Hey, what about this then? So one of the problems of being a professional rugby player is just the attrition on your body. Mm-hmm. You're trying to be as big and fast as strong as you possibly can, but you're going through the mill every single week, and then you've got to go through the mill in training as well.
Yep.
So you can't pack on mass,
nope.
Work your explosive power off the season. If you've got 12 months, in the season, so you have to do it off season. Then there was talk of like some of the Northampton boys.
Not to interrupt you, are you suggesting that the naughty step doesn't have drug testing?
I was going to
because I love it. I love it.
I was going to ask your opinion on is the naughty step team, because they're not actually playing for 12 months, are they subject to WADA testing?
No, absolutely not. They're not playing competitive sport. Why would they be? It's just, look, we've got to keep costs nice and slim, and I just think a testing protocol for players that aren't playing sport just
it's unnecessary expense.
It's just an expense thing. It's nothing competitive.
Absolutely.
You know? I think that's
completely
fine.
agree. As soon as they're back in, they're on the testing program.
Absolutely right.
But 12 months of no testing.
No, nothing at all. Nothing at all.
So the fly half, his nose has grown.
He's massive, isn't he? Why is his forehead so big?
So we'll get into we'll lavish praise where it's due. I just want to sort of circle back a little bit. Sorry for using that phrase, circle back. I apologise. That's outrageous. Sorry. I just want to mention again something I mentioned last week, which I think was evident this week, where Premiership's starting to feel much more Super Rugby than it ever has. Is that just the weather getting better, or is this something more? And if it is, how do you feel about this?
Great point. It's a great point, Tim, because if this was Super Rugby, I'd be ignoring it. But because it's my favourite teams and my favourite players, I kind of ignore it a little bit. Well, it's fine, whatever. Plastic pitches in Gloucester, they can throw the ball. I dare actually say, watching Gloucester on a plastic pitch in the dry, it is quite impressive.
They were really impressive this week.
It is quite... Yeah, it's quite
out Bristol in Bristol.
Yeah. So I think you've probably got a point. I think what it demonstrates is the fragility of the Premiership teams. They're all very strong first 15. Anything deeper than that, nah. So if you're not showing up with your first 15, you can concede a lot of points.
And there's a lot of teams good going forward. There are some defensive lapses. Like some of the stuff in midfield, Bristol particular.
That was a Bristol first choice team, by the way.
Yeah.
That was their full ball team. And
they didn't have a fly-off, did they?
Burn.
Burn.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
It was the best team they could select and put out. Yeah. And they shipped 9 tries. On top of the however many 7 tries did they ship to Exeter last week?
Yeah, it was a load of tries. Maybe not 7, but
it was a lot.
It was a lot. Maybe it was 7. It was a huge number of tries in
6.
That game.
9 against Gloucester, 6 against Exeter.
So what I don't like about it, I'm very happy with high scoring games.
Sometimes,
not necessarily all the time, but providing it's a close game, providing both teams are scoring kind of evenly, and there is jeopardy, and you go into the last 5 or 10 minutes not knowing who's going to win and knowing that both teams can win that game, and that goes for the game. Could be 3-6 or 6-3, the classic scoreline, or it could be 34-38 like the Stormers Ulster game this weekend. As long as you go into those last 10 minutes and either team can win, I don't mind. What I don't like is in this game, Bristol are a very good team, the second best team in the league across the season thus far. Gloucester has scored 53 points after 53 minutes. The game was over. It was done. They didn't score another point after that. It was done. That's not good. No good for anyone.
No, but it's very... Bristol are fickle. They're a very fickle team.
They are, yeah. No, Bristol are definitely fickle. It's just that... Is it good or bad for the league? I don't think it's either, as long as the games are competitive, as long as you don't get this complete one-sided games.
Yeah, I
like the Bath Harlequins game. Bath were 26-0 up. Yep. Again, that's not... the game was over after half an hour.
So there are some extenuating circumstances here, I think. So first of all, for Gloucester to beat Bristol is actually against the run of form. So Bristol being the second best team, that's just a good game. To me, that's just like a beat down, something to learn from. The Bath Harlequins one is probably a bit more serious because Bath are clearly the class of the league.
They are the best team in the league this year.
No one's even close to them, I don't think.
Yes.
And even when I say that, I still don't think that they're playing well. I still don't think that they are at full tilt and they're a good, cohesive team. I think there's much more to come.
Wow. So if there is more to come, then the rest of the league needs to be worried.
Yeah, agreed.
They're a great team with depth in many, many positions. Like to lose Ollie Lawrence, England starting centre at either 12 or 13, he would be starting, and to have Redpath and Ajomo coming in, very few teams can have that level of depth.
Agreed.
Yeah, and they will keep it, I think, because next season, when the salary cap goes up,
1.4 million extra to spend.
Yeah, I don't think that anyone else is going to be spending it. So just by maintaining people play, look at every single team in the league. They are losing key players. Now, you expect it in a salary cap situation. You always do. But Bath could avoid this, or they could avoid the worst of it and even add. So the best player probably in the Gloucester game was Santi Carreras, who will be going to Bath.
Yes, yeah, that's a very good point. Alongside Seb Atkinson, who was brilliant. I thought he was
very good.
But you could give it to Carreras, you could give it to Thomas Williams, Chris
Harris was good.
Chris Harris was superb. There's many.
To go back again, sort of not wanting to repeat myself or hammer the point too much, but just to make the point, if I was Steve Borthwick watching Seb Atkinson, I think I think to a degree I might go, I might get him into camp, but I'm not going to go, Seb Atkinson had a good game, because
he's been having a good game for a long time.
No, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's so alien to Test match rugby. Bristol's defence is a joke.
The Bristol defence. So we have talked up James Williams a number of times. Yeah. This year, there was so many gaps inside and outside James Williams.
Great player, but you're right. He had
a tough shift.
Yeah,
they were targeting inside and outside.
Hey, that could be the fact that Pat Lamb's not doing any defence coaching. That's how it looks. It looks like they're spending all of their time on attack. And hey, the Bristol fans seem to enjoy that.
Let's just circle back to international rugby and how you prepare for it. The All Blacks have been the best team in the world for many, many years in the last couple of decades. And they play Super Rugby. They all have to play.
Oh, no, sorry. The players play Super Rugby.
Yeah. So, how do the All Blacks decipher which one of these guys is going to be able to make the test arena? To be fair, South Africa for the longest time were playing Super Rugby.
But then when New Zealand were the best, New Zealand were playing
the Bulls.
Yeah, going to Durban, going to Cape Town. So and also things are different. It's only really 2020 that 2019 that stopped, I think.
Actually, South African teams were garbage until recently, and South Africa were drawing from European players.
And now there's an argument that South Africa have got the best of all worlds, because club rugby, they get to play a bit of the north.
Yep.
Rugby championship, they get to play the big nations in the south.
Yep.
And they get regular international rugby.
And something else.
They get, what's that?
Cold, hard cash.
Oh, and they get to play the French teams in the top 14, in the Champions Cup.
They get to play in bigger markets.
Yeah, and you've combined a 50 million plus population in South Africa, 55 million.
Of which only 7 million care about rugby. If that.
It's more than that.
What do you reckon that the white population is of South Africa?
I think the white population is between 5 and 6, but they are not the only. They are not the only people who care.
They are the majority of people that care about rugby there. It's not the Rainbow Nation like everyone thinks.
That was the case, but I can tell you firsthand, when there's a Springbok game on, the malls are full of people and they put big screens on.
Well, I take it back then.
By the thousands.
I take it back. Yeah. But they also do benefit, I'm sure I'm going to hate mail from South Africa now, by the fact that, much like Wales, the rugby team is a source of pride in an otherwise challenging environment.
That is true.
I think it probably amplifies the pride, because they're the best at the world in something. Rassie Erasmus' own words in Chasing the Sun, he said, "We're the only thing in South Africa that works."
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So I don't know. I don't know how New Zealand were picking all of these world-class internationals. There were world-class internationals playing Super Rugby, and it's challenging for England. But evidently, it is challenging for England. Maybe it's England that need to change, not the Premiership.
Well, it's a good point you make, actually, and possibly it is that whole thing of good coaches spotting and developing the test match animals. And a good example of that in New Zealand is, if you just watch Super Rugby, you would think Hoskins Sotutu has to play. And how many times do we have people that play really well in the Premiership and the fans go, that guy has to play? What's that guy doing playing? Okay, actually, you know what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Happens a lot.
Yeah.
Does.
On the Seb Atkinson point, two things I do want to make, because I would have him in camp.
Definitely. He'll go on the summer tour, definitely.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain he will. Although England, well, obviously Lawrence is out, but England won't. None of the England centres will be lining up for the Lions.
No, correct.
But I would take him, definitely, to the summer tour. There are two things I just want to mention about him. One, he's another Worcester graduate. Mm-hmm. How good would that Worcester team have been with Finn Smith and Ollie Lawrence and Seb Atkinson and
Ted Hill.
Countless others. Yeah, Ted Hill.
Yeah, but they had no props or second rows.
Andrew Kitchener.
Rory Sutherland, benching 205.
Good family.
Yeah, the Kitcheners.
Good, great family.
What happened to the Kitcheners?
I don't know.
Probably work for a charity or something now, don't they? Great family.
The other thing I wanted to mention about Seb Atkinson, so he's obviously a big boy, 6'2". He's listed at 91 kg, but that must have been his under 18s.
Yeah, he looks a ton, doesn't he?
He must be 100 kg.
Yeah.
I'm not having that he's any significant amount less than 100 kg. Did you see friend of the pod, Jamal Ford Robinson's tweet a few weeks ago in their kind of mini pre-season that Seb Atkinson either broke or equalled a rugby record in their pre-season?
Was it the one that Hugo Keenan had the record for, the Bronco?
The Bronco, Hugo Keenan, George Horn and Bowden Barrett are all about
5:23, is it? Something like that?
It's 4:10, 4:12.
Okay. I can't remember which minute it was, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 1,200 metres, shuttles back and forth, effectively.
Correct. Yeah, 250 metres a pop. Yeah, I told 240. But yeah, 1,200 metres. 408 for someone who is at least 10 kg heavier than all of those other boys. So that is very, very impressive.
Yeah. That's serious.
So I like him.
Yeah.
Like Seb Atkinson. But I do always say, get the kids in. All the kids, all the time.
Yeah, absolutely agreed.
Every kid, every single time.
Yeah.
I do need to see more of him, and I need to see him in the summer tour is a great opportunity for him. So.
Yeah. Well, he's been playing well for years now, and he actually played very well at Worcester. So people forget that. He played 13 mostly for Worcester, I think. So, yeah, I'm just throw him in. Great.
Throw him in. Get the kids in.
Well, is he going to be that much better or worse than Dingwall, considering where Dingwall is in his career and where Atkinson is? And physically, he's an upgrade. He's got some nice skills. Dingwall's a great player, but I think it's not dissimilar in terms of quality.
It's important not to overlook as well. England are playing Argentina. They're not, like Wales going to play Japan or Scotland. I don't know who they're playing.
Full bore Argentina against the weekend.
Scotland are going to Fiji and Tonga.
That's cool.
England are playing Argentina, who are one spot above them in the world rankings, and world rankings is important this year because the Rugby World Cup draw is at the end of this year.
Ah.
Yeah, well, I'd say on that they could be in for hiding because a fully stocked Argentine team in Argentina against a weakened England team is delicious.
And Argentina, who they play the warm up for the British and Irish Lions, then they host England. England are also playing USA, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then Argentina obviously go from that into the Rugby Championship. So, big year for Argentina and wannabe. And the Rugby Championship, where they were very competitive last year. Did they beat all three?
They beat all three of them. Lost to all three as well.
Yeah,
they
did, but beat all three as well.
Yep.
So they're a very serious team, Argentina.
And they have two lads that play for Toulouse. Never underestimate that. Two lads who are constantly winning and have forgotten what it is to lose.
Toulouse for Toulouse.
Yes. Did I read somewhere that Ange
Capuozzo
played 9?
Not for the first time. He's done it before. He's done it earlier this season. They tried him out there for about 10 minutes at the end of a game.
How did that go?
Covered the bench as well.
Yep.
Like with a 6-2 split, and he can cover.
Well, as soon as that law came in, where it's the 9s don't have to stay at the tunnel now, do they?
God, no idea.
They just have to stay behind the ball. Is that right?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm busy.
They have to stay behind the ball. So basically, a lot of 9s, rather than bothering to go round, because you're not allowed to hassle the opposite 9 as much as you were, a lot of them are just standing at the back foot on the blind side, which as soon as that started happening, then I think it was someone then Ange Capuozzo got put off the bench at scrum half because you don't need to be as good at passing. because you're not being put under pressure.
I see. That's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
That'd be amazing if you can make that transition.
And it's 10 years ago, and certainly longer ago than that, you would occasionally see like a ruck, open play ruck, there's no 9 there, and a second row or a winger or someone else, someone who's not a 9, has to pass the ball from the base of a ruck. And 10 years ago, you'd see some horrific passes. Just ask Mauro Bergamasco.
It still baffles me how that happened.
I know that. I mean, that is a thing unto itself. But now, it doesn't matter. Everyone can do that skill. Everyone, whether it's a second row, a prop, a winger, everyone's passable at
there was
it.
somebody 20 years ago at Sale Sharks, maybe longer than that. Maybe it's 30 years ago. Because someone was telling me when the lads came into academy for the first time, the number one skill they teach them was passing from the base. There's one coach in particular that made them made everyone pass from the base.
Do it?
Yeah, everyone.
Interesting.
I can't remember who that was, but it was definitely Sale Sharks.
Well, I remember it was an Eddie Jones thing. Just like we need to give Eddie Jones credit for the 9 forwards. He said that in 2016. When he said Jack Noel could be a flanker, he said, we're looking at the way that the game's going to change, and I think, why not 9 forwards? I think that's something we're going to look at.
But he didn't do it, though, did he?
No, he didn't do it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
People ripped him for saying that.
Yeah, but he didn't do it.
Now it's become a thing. No, but
if he'd done it, then we wouldn't have ripped him.
The other thing he said was having effectively 2 scrum halves on the field. And by that, he meant a winger that was like the blindside winger becomes a de facto 9.
On this.
And Toulon did a bit of that because Gavin Villiers used to be a
9
scrum half.
He's a terrible 9, allegedly.
Yeah, but good enough that he could kind of just come in off his wing and...
Have you read the Ben Mercer book?
No.
So Ben Mercer, brother of...
Zach?
Guy Mercer?
Guy
Mercer has written a book about being a French journeyman, in effect. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me calling him that. I'm sure that's what the book is about. And I'm sure he writes about Gavin Villiers having enormous hands, just being a rubbish scrum half, but it turns out he's great on the wing.
Very good winger.
Yeah.
Well, the Leicester Tigers, I think he's retired now, had the youngish lad, Harry Simmons.
Yes.
Who was a 9/winger.
Oh, yeah, rapid.
Yeah, absolutely rapid.
Great feet.
Yeah.
I remember him.
He's not even that old. I'm sure I saw a couple of years ago he retired over the last 12 months. I'll look it up now.
Anyway.
But it's a rugby league thing to have two dummy halfbacks or halfback and dummy halfback.
Yeah, I've heard of teams, I think maybe it's in France doing the 2 scrum half thing. So 1 scrum half for each side of the field. That kind of setup. I think there's loads of... I think rugby is so formulaic that there are so many innovations that are yet to happen. Yeah. And when they do happen, it's like, oh, well, that was obvious.
So long as World Rugby leave it alone let the coaches find out what the reaction is. So the 9 forwards will have a reaction.
Well, I'll give you a really simple one. And everyone does it now, and it's like it's always been there. The tap and go from a penalty, 5 metres out. We just never thought it was a real thing.
Do you know what that is like? So many innovations. Rob Baxter.
Yeah.
It was Exeter Chiefs that started doing that.
By the way, Exeter Chiefs got robbed, and I think you can sort of track their downfall from European Cup champions to where they are now purely through meddling with laws.
Goal line dropout.
It's a joke.
Goal line dropout.
It's just not right.
And there's 2 bits. The latch, which was... Because they were very good at the latch and very good at the pick and go, and just keep piling on the pressure. The latch was kind of always against the rules but never enforced. The goal line dropout was a complete change to the laws. The
goal line dropout's a disgrace. I still think it's a disgrace this day. Why do you get to kick the ball away when someone's got over your try line? Why? And you want to limit violent collisions. Well, don't kick the ball to an opposition who's going to run it back into your line.
Full speed.
30 but then there are innovations on that because it was...
Sorry, just on the goal line dropout while I'm developing my thought. The reason it's different from the 22 dropout or kicking from across the pitch is when you kick from across the pitch, generally speaking, you can drill it deep and the most likely response is to kick it back. Whereas if you're kicking it from the goal line, the obvious response is to run it back. The obvious response is...
Yeah, there's 2. You run it back or you attempt a drop goal.
Yeah.
Which is I mean, if you do attempt the drop goal, there's no player welfare issues, but it's not as exciting for me to watch.
But in terms of innovations, and just to emphasise the point that left alone, ways around it will be found. Ireland, one of the tries they scored against England was from a goal line dropout. And was it one of the ones where Caden Murley messed up? I can't remember. No, it doesn't matter. Okay. Doesn't matter. But anyway, it was a goal. Oh, no, who were Ireland playing against? I forget. Anyway.
This year's Six Nations.
Was it this year's Six Nations or was it the game against France last year? Anyway, it was a goal line dropout. Caelan Doris trucked it back up and Ireland had a set move.
Oh, yes. I remember it.
Total set move.
They goal line dropped out to Ireland.
Yes, yeah. Ireland received
Caelan Doris trucked it up, but all the players, you could see the way they had, it was a set move.
Oh, it was like a switch and then a short pass.
A switch and a short pass. Yeah, exactly that. Oh, that's right. It was against France last year, that amazing game at the Aviva, Hugo Keenan's try.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Because it was Beelum, that's right. So Tygburn, Andrew Porter and someone else cleaned out the ruck super quick. They obviously knew, right, Doris, clear him out, done. Beelum was stood at first receiver. Took a quick pass from, I think it was Conor Murray. Conor Murray does the loop around him. Beelum dummies the loop and then hits a flat pass inside to Hugo Keenan, who's running inside the guard at the ruck and just goes through and scores.
Yeah.
Love it.
Lovely. It was all total set play from a dropout.
Planned.
That's really interesting. That is really interesting, actually. Yeah, would that stop? Well, I guess it's giving World Rugby what they want, isn't it? You kick the ball back and you have lovely open flowing play. No one gets head injury and some points are scored. Unfortunately, it's not what I want.
That's one. That's one in 2 years or 3 years of doing it.
Yeah.
Harry Simons. It was only in December last year he retired.
And now,
age of 27.
Not from Tigers.
Yeah, from Tigers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. An eye injury that risked losing the vision in his right eye.
That's miserable.
Yeah, not great, but now doing well.
Good. Talking to Tigers, not doing well this weekend.
Not this weekend.
That's a bad loss, that is. That's a really bad loss.
Now, have you seen the Saracens team selection?
For this game?
For this game?
Yes, I have.
And the consequences of the team selection for this game. Because...
Champions Cup.
So we mentioned last week that their England players who played over a certain amount of minutes or a certain number of games would have to be rested one of the next 3 games. They went full bore against Quins, lost. Or near full bore against Quins, lost. Near full bore against Leicester away and won. But it does mean that players like Jamie George and Mario Itoje...
Ben Earl? Oh no, he rested last week, didn't he?
Yeah.
Tom Willis
may fall into this. Elliot Daly might. I'm not entirely certain, but
definitely George and Itoje.
George and Itoje definitely will not be playing in the Champions Cup. So you've got their kind of the 2 England captains, the 2 most recent England captains, 2 of their best players, the pivotal point of their line out.
Yep.
Out for.
Just on this.
Does that speak to what? Sorry, does that speak to where? Is that Saracens just being realistic? They're away to Toulon and they don't believe they can win.
They might believe they can win with a second team, which might be
it might be a proper. It might be a proper flex.
Well,
we don't need Maro,
but it does show how important the league is to them.
Yeah, as I say, more likely, right, would be the fact that they'd be on 35 points, which doesn't put them out of contention, but it's not good. And I think they can't afford to lose the league. It's always got to be league first and then Europe. There's no point in competing for Europe from 8th from 6th in the league or 7th in the league, wherever it is.
And it does. I think that exactly what you just described, JB, is a symptom of the lower salary cap as well.
Yeah.
So they kind of realistically know that with half the cash spent on players as the big French teams. And maybe even less than that than Leinster, they can't compete because to win it. What we always say about the World Cup: can you beat one of the big 3-4 teams in the world? Can you beat them once? Yes. Can you beat them in 3 back-to-back games? No.
Well, on the Saracens, they need to rest. Okay, here's what should really, really happen: if you want to break the rest period, you have to do 2 things. A, pay your England money back to England. Just pay it back because that's why it's negotiated to rest England assets. So a percentage of it has to be paid back. And outside of the salary cap, you pay these players additional money for losing their rest. I think that is a fair way to do it. I think players are in this to earn money, primarily. They're not doing it for the love of the game, although I'm sure they do love the game. And why not? We want to see the best players play in the biggest games.
I also don't think the players can sign up to and take the bit of the 1.5 million from the RFU that they want, but cast the contract they sign away.
Well, no, it's not an England contract, is it? It's an agreement between the Premiership clubs and England.
Well, if you're
there are both parts. You've got the PGP, which is the agreement, exactly what we've just described, the agreements between the parties. But then there is a separate contract for each player, which is the 150 or 160,000.
Oh, yes, 150,000, not 1.5 million.
The clubs get their money, and the players get their money.
But on that money, right?
So the player can't take the 150k if you will go.
The player would still get the England money, but the clubs wouldn't get the England money. So what you're describing
on the players, the risk is to them not being able to play for England. So if you're injured, someone gets your shirt. That could be the end of your England career. If you're fighting, so you've got to say, right, I'm going to rest because I want to play for England. That's fine. That's in your contract. If you want me to play this weekend, match fee, 20k.
No, I get that, but if I was Steve Borthwick in the RFU, I'd go, well, I want that 150k back.
Yeah, so
all of it from club, you individually, not the club.
The player.
I want it all back from you because you signed up that we get to dictate your rest periods, and if you're not willing to do that, you don't take 150k.
I can see why England would say that.
Yeah,
completely. Because you exactly the point you just made.
I would do it the other way. I'd say that the club pays it back. Because you're mixing up the PGP and the central contract. Yeah.
The central contract is between Steve Borthwick and each of the 17 players that have it. Yeah,
that is fair.
Or Marrow in this instance.
No, hang on. But that's the point, isn't it? They do pay it back, and that's why they've got to be massively compensated by their club.
So I'll play this game, but I want 160 grand for one game,
and I will
because I will accept
a flat in Luton or some South African farmland.
Yes, exactly.
Or an expensive watch. It doesn't have to be cash.
It's just like, say if you have your rest period and everything goes fine, and then you get injured the next game when you're not rested and your career's over, why stop them earning money? If you want to earn as much as you can get, as quickly as you can get, like the South Africans going from South Africa over to Japan and then back again, that's great. You're a professional rugby player. Go and earn as much money as you physically can.
But that is also... part of that is the welfare and the rest period, because they play like 12 games in Japan, and admittedly there's a couple of Retalix and RD Surveyors and those boys knocking about there. There's also a load of Japanese salarymen, photocopier salesmen on the other side of the pitch. So there is both sides of that equation. If they wanted to truly maximise their income, they would probably go and spend time in France.
Oh, Jordy Barrett.
But he's only doing a 6-month stint, isn't he?
In terms of maximising income, every time we have this conversation, I just think whenever that billionaire does pull the trigger on a F1 style franchise league, it's done.
No, it's not.
World Rugby are going to say if you're involved in that, you cannot play international rugby. It kind of needs all of them, like a union, to sign up at the same time.
Let me tell you this. Those contracts are already on the table. So I know of players that have got those contracts in front of them, and they are currently leveraging them to go to various clubs and say, look, this is either this or I'm getting this. Now, I don't think that those contracts are real. I really don't. I don't think there's...
But if it were real, hypothetically, if it were real, actually what I think it is at the minute, it's a little bit like the grasshoppers and the ants in Bug's Life, or whatever that movie was.
I've not seen that one.
Where it's like the ants suddenly realise, hold on a minute, there's way more of us than there is of them. And they're keeping us under their power, and all we just need to do is actually, if we just sort of link arms and just stand together, they can't tell us what to do. Yeah. I think it's a little bit like that.
You're telling yourself the story that every union leader has ever told themselves and failed.
So what you need is the reason World Rugby have the threat of, well, you won't be able to play international rugby. We're not going to let you play international rugby if you go and join this breakaway league. If every team in this breakaway league was filled with the biggest rugby stars in the world, World Rugby could not enforce that threat.
Doesn't it? Because the IP of the clubs is actually far greater than the IP of the players. I don't care what anyone says, but Leicester Tigers as an institution will always be greater than every single player that's ever walked through the door there. Same for Saracens, same for Crusaders, same for Toulouse. It's just the way of the world. You need the IP of the clubs as much as anything else.
You do need both.
The disparity between international rugby and club rugby is enormous.
It's not.
It
not
is.
When you look at Toulouse playing Leinster or or top 14, or where the top 14 is going, that's where the disparity will be.
The amount of money it brings in, it is like the
amount of money it brings in. Yeah, sure.
The amount of money it brings in is a reflection of the interest.
Yeah. So like our to get tickets for England, France, you can't get a ticket for less than 150 quid. No. Like it's just there are some technically available, but they're snapped up months in advance, years in advance. They just don't really exist. Whereas tickets for the biggest game in the club calendar, at Spurs Stadium, 40 quid, 50 quid. Like they're just available. They're easy.
In terms of the revenue, you are absolutely right. There is a huge difference. In terms of quality, though.
Quality.
I think that's where it's going to go. I think it's going to go top 14 will be...
Quality, I completely agree. If anything, if you got Toulouse against Ireland, Toulouse win.
I agree. Completely agree.
Yeah.
But it's not reflected in the demand side yet.
Just moving this on slightly.
Do you
want to talk about the RFU vote?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So Bill Sweeney survives.
He does, by quite a big margin, two-thirds to one-third.
Yeah, so, what's everyone's immediate take on it?
Over half the clubs or half the organisations that were eligible to vote didn't bother voting, so, I'm kind of like, there you go. You get what you deserve. This
might be a bit of a red herring in a way. I'll tell you why I think this. When I was running for council in Lancashire, I don't think I'd be amazed if any more than half the clubs voted. Mm-hmm. We find the vote totals, but there are a ton of clubs that don't vote, and these clubs who are able to vote but don't are usually people like Lancashire Fire Service. Lancashire, there's like a prison somewhere in Lancashire that has a rugby team. So I probably think that the teams that were, not the big teams, but like substantial teams with multiple sides, I think the majority of them voted, but I think a lot of teams which are almost defunct would not.
So I can see that. I wouldn't like to be quoted on what percentage of the teams that didn't vote were exactly those that you described, the once a year kind of invitational type teams, or versus the actual competitive in league with multiple squads.
I bet none of the university teams voted.
Yeah, probably only a handful.
If even that, maybe like.
But on that, so that is one point. The majority of teams who did, 2/3 of the teams who did voted for Bill Sweeney. I can't remember if it was
against the motion
for the referees.
Yes. Against the motion to recommend that he be removed, because the vote against him wouldn't remove him. The board would have to do that.
Yeah.
But the board operate on behalf of their members, so it would be a bold move to go against that.
And they were all with Bill Sweeney before.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Prime members, are you tired of ads interfering with your favorite podcasts? Good news. With Amazon Music, you have access to the largest catalog of ad-free top podcasts included with your Prime membership. To start listening, download the Amazon Music app for free or go to amazon.com/ad-free podcasts. That's amazon.com/ad-free podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
So how do we feel? Okay, how do we feel about that?
Apathetic. I feel about the RFU the way I feel about the political system, which is I feel like there's almost no point because it's different shades of the same.
Yes.
SH1T.
I have to say, I wanted Bill Sweeney gone, but I'm not devastated that the whole of Game Union are not in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm far from... It's very similar to Syria. Like, he was a bad guy. But these new guys, they're not exactly great.
I do think that's a false dichotomy. That wasn't the choice.
Okay, it wasn't like Syria.
That wasn't...
I will admit.
That wasn't the choice.
Because I know it wouldn't have been. It would have been election process that would have been, again, run by the board and voted on by the council and all the clubs, however it works.
So you probably would have got a Bill Sweeney 2.0, whoever that would be.
Yeah, it wouldn't have just been your mate, Dr. Adam White.
I don't know. Look, people would be they'd be voted on, absolutely. But the candidates that were put forward in order for them to vote on would have come from somewhere. And I think that's where you sort of, you find out who's really in power and who's putting people in positions to be voted on. I
think the RFU's like the quote unquote swamp. Basically, it's you just get another swamp creature.
Well, there is
in a blazer.
Yeah, it's someone who's been at BA or Radisson Blue or Twix.
One of the partners, one of the commercial partners. Yeah. That's how it seems to go.
Yes.
Oh, mate, you work for Twix. Oh my God.
Well, I guess it makes sense, doesn't it? Because these guys have been funneling money into rugby for God knows how long. They're the corporate partners. That's where they have their executive relationships. So I guess that sort of makes sense. I think there's a really deep problem with sports administration across sport, which is these leeches, frankly, who were originally just enthusiasts who wanted to, be a clerk in a sports team, are now asking for millions of pounds. And it's not just the RFU; it's across all sports, like the LTA, or there's this administrator class who used to be paid nothing, and now they think they're high-level executives.
They used to do it for the love of the game.
Yeah, literally. And now it's been professionalised. Reminds me of
we need a Department of Rugby Efficiency.
Imagine. Just on that, so when we did the LTIP pod, we mentioned, because Freshfields mentioned it, the Mark Dodson,
trailblazer,
one of the two original LTIPs in British sport, that led to millions of pounds being paid to a handful of individuals. Siphoned off.
Yeah.
That Bill Sweeney and others thought, oh God, I like that play. I like that manoeuvre. The other one was the England and Welsh Cricket Board.
I did not know this story.
So, yeah, and it was mentioning, and I didn't know this story, but we had an email from one of my neighbours, Guy, who's big into his cricket, and I bumped into him in the park last week or the week before, and we're having a little chat about it, and it was basically the same deal. the same situation, Dodson, the same playbook, Dodson, Sweeney, and the English Cricket Board. It led to a significant, I think it was £2 million payout to the top executives.
Jesus Christ.
And it wasn't even that brought them down. It was only the racism, I think it was Yorkshire Cricket racism affair that actually brought these individuals down. So if we want Sweeney out,
we know what to do.
This isn't the right play to
dollar bill.
Isn't it amazing, right? You can get kicked out of your sports organisation. I mean, you're more likely to get kicked out of your sports organisation, not for ciphering off money and creating the structures around it to justify the ciphering of money. That's fine, because that's like white-collar crime. That's absolutely fine. That's respectable, like, all of the banker class and whatnot. That's absolutely fine. However, if he's been caught saying nasty words, he has to go. He has to go. It's just incredible. But I think there's a whole class of people who are administering sports now who just... the organisations, the bodies, like the volunteers and the members of all the constituent clubs need to get a grip of this, because... It's ridiculous. They're not that valuable. They're not that talented. Yeah. They're not talented. They're not actually talented. The only thing they're talented at is ciphering off money, in which case they're unbelievable.
And they've created this
false market,
fake scarcity around their product, which is incredible.
I kind of think of it, when I was looking at this, I was sort of thinking, just feeling-wise, it reminded me of the BBC. Because I was thinking, right, so I ended up being in sports broadcasting and all the rest of it, moving from radio to music radio to rugby broadcasting and stuff. I thought, oh, bloody God, Media City's landing on my doorstep. And I'm a pretty resilient and, what's the word? I don't mind annoying people. I'll knock on the door loads of times. I'll knock on. I'll knock down doors. I did. The BBC is impenetrable. It's like a secret language handshake,
attitude, and values, views.
Once you're on the inner sanctum, it's an organisation which just feeds itself and everyone. But it's weird, and I just look at the RFU a bit like a blob like that.
It is. It's very much like that. It's frustrating, but. Because this was an opportunity for real change and to indicate to future people who come into the organisation, no, this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
But what this has done is indicated that those behaviours are acceptable to future people who will be involved in it. But it indicates that you get the politicians you vote for. You get the politicians you deserve.
You deserve
leaders
exactly
you deserve, and the RFU deserves leaders like that, because the people running it, and all the way down through the council at the higher levels of the clubs, are people who've taken that vote.
And let's just have a look at the chairman of the RFU, Rob Udwin's response when the bonus scandal came out. He said it was clickbait media spin. That was his public statement immediately when it came to light. I think that tells you everything about the organisation. And organisations rock from the head down, and those are the people at the top of the RFU.
The only thing I'd say is I don't think it's just rugby. I think it's a much more broad.
No, I take that.
Much more broad thing. I wonder if it comes from football, which is a legitimate stand on its own 2 feet game because of the amount of revenue that it generates, and maybe cross-border competitions,
and all
huge
private
revenues.
owners, and actually the clubs are bigger than the
maybe you
national.
do need to be a bit more savvy, and there is a bit of scarcity with people who can run like it. Maybe it is not true for rugby. It's not true for hockey. It's not true for cricket. It's not true for any of these other sports. In fact, you can see in a lot of them, you've got similar problems too with like participation, TV money declining, all this stuff.
We've learned what the solution is this weekend. Don't bother with post-match chat. Just do a TikTok dance.
Come on, come on now.
Now, I know we
can anyone defend this? Really?
Well, the TikTok dance.
Yeah. Can anyone defend? Lose it? Well, how much did what was the margin of victory?
It was similar. It was similar to the England-Wales match score
for the men
in Cardiff for the men.
Yeah. 60 something to 12. Yeah.
I just can't defend that. I can't get my head around it.
Even if it had been an incredibly close match, and you had 2 people from each team joining the panel of guests by the little lectern, could you defend doing a TikTok dance instead of chatting about the rugby then?
Did they talk any rugby? I've only seen the dance. But actually, what is the point here? The point is everyone's seen the dance because no one's watching the interview, were they? So
you got to appeal to
something.
What the people who are watching.
I'm not. Well, yeah, but I'm not saying don't do a TikTok dance. But they weren't doing the TikTok dance for the people that were watching. They were doing the TikTok dance for their TikTok followers, and taking up the time on live TV for the people watching.
There's got to be a meme for this where you are appealing to people that have got no interest in your sport and never will. I don't know what that meme is. Someone better than me can meme this concept, but that's what they're doing. Like these aren't real numbers, and being obsessed with your TikTok following rather than people who actually like the game is weird. It's weird and it's wrong-headed.
Well, you can do both. That's fine.
Well, why?
Why not? It's fine.
Well, you can.
You can, but like, what's the utility to the game? Like, there's utility maybe to a personal brand.
James Haskell says that social media, just do social media, more social media. Apparently, that's going to solve all rugby's problems.
Allegedly. You've got to appeal to people that want to watch a game. Now, why you be selling short the most investable opportunity in sports entertainment history, I do not know. But it's just a bit naff, isn't it? And also, anyone who tells me women's rugby is a serious game, and I want to believe it, I desperately want to believe it, and I want to be proven wrong. Have a look at that and think, could you imagine Jack Morgan doing that after his loss? Could you imagine Jack Morgan doing that?
No.
And I get it, these girls have worked 5 times harder, according to some mystery. I mean, if they've worked 5 times harder than Jack Morgan to get there, like I've been led to believe that they have, why are they TikTok dancing?
They can do what? If they've worked 5 times harder than Jack Morgan, they can do whatever the hell they want.
Who has worked 5 times harder than Jack Morgan? Maybe
a 12-year-old child in the early days of the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, I was thinking
in a cotton mill.
Yeah,
Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos.
I was thinking like maybe a coal miner in mid-Soviet Russia. Like, I have no idea.
Have you seen Blood Diamond? Some of those boys. The child militia.
Yeah, children mining cobalt in Uganda.
There are literally a handful of people on the planet that work harder than Jack Morgan.
5 times harder.
Unless you're a female rugby player, in which case it's universally 5 times harder than Jack Morgan. I mean, it's a wild statement. Who said that?
I can't remember.
It was either a female player or it was a male pundit talking about it. Someone said that, and I'll never forget it. I forget who said it, thank God.
Yeah.
But
Stop it. Just equal pay.
So I was having a conversation with one of my wife's colleagues last weekend. He's not a rugby fan, but he's a Tranmere Rovers fan, and his daughter, 10-year-old daughter, wants to watch the women, Tranmere Rovers women, and he was complaining because they only play on like a Tuesday night or Thursday evening, or because no one goes to watch them. And he said to me, "How do I tell my daughter that like women's football is not important enough?" I was like, well,
like that, I guess.
Like, what is the primary demographic that watches men's football? It's men. What's the primary demographic that should be watching? Like, if people want to watch women's football, it's women. So if more women watch women's football, it will be more successful.
I don't know if you're right. I don't know if you're right, because I think the primary you've asked it almost like in the wrong way. The primary demographic, I think, that watch women's rugby are the partners of the women.
Yeah, no, so men's game, men's football, men's rugby, if you could split it on any demographics, and how is it most distorted from the average population? That would be my question.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be along any racial lines. It wouldn't be along LGBTQ plus anon lines. It wouldn't be disability or it'd be like the Equality Act 2010, the protected characteristics. So the only one where it would be way above average, it would be 90+% men rather than 50-50. So women. So by that logic, women should be watching women's sport.
You would think that.
But I know, they're not. They don't watch it. Yeah, no, what I know is they don't watch it. So that is your answer. That is how you tell your... Well, we need to find a way to make it appeal to women and actually get women interested in it.
This is the men's cosmetic argument, right? Men's cosmetics should theoretically, if you use the same argument as women's rugby, be the most exciting investment opportunity in cosmetics because men don't wear it.
Yeah, you've got the full growth of the market.
Yeah, you've obviously looked at this problem the wrong way. Men don't want it.
Yes.
Men don't want it. They don't want to make up their face. And
that is exactly the conclusion you should come to.
Coming back to what you said, it's not that women shouldn't watch it as such. It's that anyone should watch it. And I think most people that watch women's sports are probably the partners or men who like it so much they'll watch any type of it, which is why most of the coaches are men, which is why most of the support staff are men. And equally, weirdly, if you canvass women rugby fans, women that go to stadiums to watch rugby, I bet the majority of the appearances as fans they go when they go as fans would be to watch men play.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, but to Phil's point, it would still depart from the average much more, so it would skew much more. Men watch live sport, full stop, generally, more than women, on average.
Yeah, any live sport.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's very valuable, and those TikTok dances, if you want to, it's fine. Not my problem.
Yeah.
Until they take all of our money from the union. But other than that, until they sink the championship by taking all the money. But other than that, not my problem.
I would love a strong... If I had to... It's not necessarily a zero-sum game, but if it were a zero-sum game, I would fund a second tier of...
women's rugby.
Of men's.
We just keep on increasing the tiers until it works.
Because I think that's something that can be... And it can be an investment. It could be...
Yes.
It could be something which... An investment which pays off more so in the future. And I think you always use the French example. I think France is the prime example of that.
Well, I use the French example as their top league. I don't know what to do with the bottom leagues. I still don't know. My solution for the championship and below is regionalisation. I don't think there should be a second national league. I'd have it all regional.
I think there is a place for a second professional league, albeit it does depend on the overarching funds of the RFU.
I didn't say he wants to watch it, but they do watch it in France.
Yeah. I know France, and I know Mark Evans has made this point many times, France is a 20% bigger market overall, a bigger population than England itself, but also they don't have anywhere near the fervent support that we have for football.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not even close. You'll get championship teams in England and even League One teams, depending on who gets promoted and relegated, who will regularly get 20, 30, even 40,000 people.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anywhere else in the world that gets that level of support.
I think the regionalisation of rugby, so you don't play any further than, say, 50 miles away, maybe that might be a bit too close. No, actually, probably not, would be the best way to do this. Because the amount of players that drop out, think about someone like Macclesfield. Macclesfield are going up and down the country. They need to field a team every single week. They must go through 50 to 70 players. I mean, I'd love to know what the stats are. I bet
the number of players that
they've had 50
team.
players in their first team. And there's just not 50 players around of that quality that you could afford to play at that level. There's just not. So by regionalising it, all those players, they probably won't play at Macclesfield, but they play around the northwest like Phil dropped out of the league because he didn't want to play any lower standard, and the only option to play that standard is to travel up and down the country every single week. So if you could have high quality rugby, regional, how many people would you keep in? That's my answer. National leagues, sorry, you've got to go in the bin.
Below a certain level. I mean, you do...
Championship.
Yeah, I would keep the championship.
Well, it is regionalised to a lesser degree from National
2.
National 2.
Yeah, so you have three.
Yeah. So
three truly.
More
national.
I might be up and having. I'd be up for having a north-south at national.
I won't mind
level.
leagues within counties. You can have counties leagues.
Yeah, I would probably move it one tier up. So you'd have 2 fully national, then north-south, and then go to northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast, or Midlands as well.
No, I'd go straight to regional. Straight to regional.
I think you just drop
I don't think that'd be the quality.
No, the quality will go sky high because you keep so many players. The problem you have is as you go up, it is physically harder to play.
So
you're losing
hard.
your best players.
Doing the travelling of the country. And obviously, you've done it, Tim, and Jay, you've done it regionally. Yeah,
I loved it, right?
But if the championship were professional, if the championship were professional, albeit it's not big money, but if the championship were professional, let's imagine that, then I don't think it becomes such a big deal. National 1, me and Phil have both done that, travelling up and down. That is brutal.
It is brutal. But I tell you the other thing about the national leagues is it dilutes your derbies. So you want to have your local rivals year after year after year after year. That's
Sedge versus Sale that happens twice a year now. Is brilliant.
Dynamite.
Because they're on opposite ends of the tram line. You can get public transport. You could have drinks in Whitefield, drinks in town, drinks in Sale, or the reverse. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's heaving.
Just in terms of that localisation, have you ever seen a Saturday when Chorlton and West Didsbury are playing football?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Isn't it?
No.
There's like the pubs on... again,
so many Chorlton and West Didsbury
it's a logo. Just to put context in, we live in an area called Chorlton in southwest Manchester, a suburb. It has a football team by the canal, which is right by a pub. And I think it's a bit of a reaction to the fact that United and City are so big and foreign owners.
It's a bit of a Salford FC vibe.
It's a bit of a Salford FC vibe. Just like, do you know what? I'm just going to go and watch my local team. So you go down Beach Road, Little Street in Chorlton on a Saturday when they've got a home game. You'll see black and white scarves all over this.
And you see all the stickers on the bins too.
People having a pint, and then they go and watch Chorlton and West Didsbury and have local beers. There is an appetite for that. I do get that. And they also have because Chorlton is, we have a vegan deli.
Vegan cooperative.
They don't. Yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember the Man City chant? Colo, 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 toure, yeah. And we go on like that. Chorlton and West Didsbury's chant is hummus, 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 quinoa.
They're not a muscular team as such, are they? No. They struggle with Moss Side Rovers. So that's what I do. Regionalisation.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Other games.
Yeah.
Friday Night Lights. While you were playing at Wilmslow, JB.
Yep.
Sale Sharks hosted Northampton Saints and ended Northampton's dreams of retaining.
Not before
silverware.
Henry Pollock gave us another glimpse of his stardom.
I saw loads of Northampton fans around Didsbury on Friday night. So I went for a few beers with the lads straight afterwards.
After the game, yeah.
Obviously pumped up, full of adrenaline. You don't want to go to bed.
You can't go to sleep. You just lie there for hours.
And I wasn't the only one that's absolutely wired. Most of the Sale Sharks were. So they were wide awake, going up and down Burton Road. And I saw, Johnny Hill was out. Sam McIntyre was out.
Nice.
There's quite a few boys knocking about, actually.
Good lads. Good excuse to have a beer.
Have a few beers on a Friday night. And there's actually, I saw a load of Northampton jerseys.
Interesting, because you're a bit of a trip away from, like, you could go to town easier.
Sorry.
As in, like, from the AJ Bell, you could go to Monton or Eccles or Town or Sale itself, Chorlton.
I was a child's car seat away from giving Sean Maitland, Owen Farrell, and another Saracen a lift into town once.
Was it one of the Villa-Polers?
I don't know who it was, but they were all going to get in either an Audi A3 or a Fiat Abarth. I can't remember which one it was, but they were going to get in that car, and I just couldn't get the car seat out. Gutted.
Northampton Saints have got good fans, and they'll have been up and back a bunch of times. They'll have done a recce.
Hey.
Like rugby fans, they're not going to end up in the print works. They're going to be fine.
They're not. Would you like to guess other people that I've given a lift to stations to?
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins, no.
We have been in a taxi with Nick
Ugo Monia.
Yeah.
I gave Ugo Monia a lift to
friend of the pod
to Piccadilly Station.
Good lad.
Lovely company.
So Saints lost, but you mentioned him before. Pollock. So for the first try, the Eogan try, it was all Pollock, and for the Pollock try, oh my word! If that was Slight Home, or if that was Slight Home or Freeman or Cipriani or Hendy, like any of these like world class outside backs or skill like kicking backs, you'd be like, oh my God, that's an unbelievable try. And it's a back row. And it's a back row who can bang as well. He's not a complete show pony. He doesn't just do these amazing
He
runs.
is legit.
He's good, isn't he? Just on him, though, I am so bored of the bratty teenager taking on England narrative now. I've heard the one story once. I never want to hear it ever again. I've heard Courtney Lawes' version of it in the Times. I've heard several reporters.
Bratty teenager taking on England? What's that?
Yeah, so it's the story that in training...
He's coming for everyone's shirt.
Coming for everyone's shirt. We get it. We get it. He's competitive. They're all after everyone's shirt. We don't need to talk about it anymore.
You've just described being a professional sportsman.
Exactly right. And for some reason... so
all the journalists want to use that version and replay it every time.
Yeah. I've read another version of it today, actually. I was like, you got to give it a rest. He's just a really good player.
And he is coming for everyone's shirt. He wants to be wearing that starting shirt for England, as he should want.
In the same way as Tom Curry was coming for everyone's shirt when he was 18, making his debut for England.
Exactly. And Ben Curry for the last 8 years has been trying to get to that position.
God, they've got some players now, haven't they? But none of them are big enough, would be my take on it.
You can't say that about Tom Curry.
Tom Curry, yeah. Tom Curry's exceptional.
He's an absolute animal.
No, there are two which stand out for me. Tom Curry, Ted Hill.
Tom Willis?
Oh, Tom Willis, yeah.
Cunningham South?
Oh, yeah, Cunningham South as well.
I mean, he's big. He's not too small.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So there's four of them which are big enough, but everyone else is just not big enough. And so you got like Pepper and Underhill.
Yeah.
Pollock now.
But that might be the way the game is evolving a little bit. When you look at this weekend, one of the stories of the weekend is the little guy. Look at Christian Wade, look at Darcy Graham.
On the wing, certainly.
A lot of these. So the small winger is Louis Bielbiere. By the way,
how many million tries has he scored?
Louis Bielbiere has scored again.
Of course.
At what point?
Last time he failed to score was like, I don't know, the 1980s.
However, Matthew Jalabert wears Dan Lancaster pyjamas because Dan Lancaster's Racing 92 have beaten Phil's beloved.
No word.
Yeah.
At what point does Bielbiere walk into the president's office at Bordeaux and go, do you know that money you pay Pernod? Yeah. I want some. I want all of it. Because he's becoming that kind of star now.
Yeah. His market value, he's just so
I wonder what he's paid. It can't be as much as Pernod. It's simply
No. And wingers don't get paid, like we know from the Premiership salary cap report. They are not the highest paid players.
No, they're not. I bet Pernod is.
Not by some distance. He will be because he's an absolute rock star and he was stolen or taken from
somebody
Clermont.
is going to come in for Bielbiere with unbelievable cash. Toulon, not Toulouse, I don't think. Someone has to come in for him.
Not Toulouse. Toulouse have got their own financial battles with the Jaminet case.
Well, quite. But someone is going to pay big money for that boy.
Yeah. They'll offer
it could well be Bordeaux.
Well, yes, but someone else will offer it him.
How old is Pernell?
21?
28.
20, yeah.
28.
Yeah.
And Bill Beret is like
21, 21, maybe just 22.
There is a cash transfer to be done there.
Just on Pollock and the size. So you have to have size across the team. You don't have to have everyone does not have to have size.
Agreed.
In terms of physical attributes, he's not enormous, but he's probably not far off. Maybe the best 8 for the last 10 years in Ardie Surveyor.
Ardie Surveyor.
He's that kind of size.
There are some guys, right, who are unusual. And these guys, the two I'm thinking of is, actually, no, there are a handful, right? There's
Quagga Smith.
Quagga Smith.
Yep.
Quagga Smith is just so violent. But you can't be that violent for that long. Like, he is so unusual. Maybe Hooper, maybe Pocock.
In their prime.
So you can do that, but you've got to be so good. Like, so good.
Well, the other the really exciting young back rows in World Rugby is probably Henry Pollock at the minute and Cameron Hanekom, who's a similar size as Gen.
Really?
I thought he was bigger.
No, I think Cameron Hanekom's maybe 6'2".
So Ardie and Henry
6'2"
Pollock,
and probably 105 kg, something like that.
Yeah, Ardie and Henry are both 6'1" and just over 100 kg. I would have put Hanekom.
I think he's 6'2",
like
6'3" tops.
He does play for South Africa, so he might look 6 foot.
I mean, he's only 22. Hanekom, he is 6'4", and he's listed here on 110. I
think that's more.
So he's a stone.
So he's small by South African standards.
Yeah.
So you're right. Fair
3
play.
inches and a stone heavier.
Yeah, fair play. Take it back.
Big boy.
He is a big boy.
But like, the best guys in the world.
They're still talking about him possibly being a South African 6 or an English 7.
Yeah. Well, look at best rugby player in the world, perhaps Peter Steph-Toy. He's like 6'7", isn't he? And 115 kg.
That is your easiest way to stardom.
So that's the kind of that. Well, that's not the kind of player. That's if he is going to be that. That is the shirt he's going to have to steal. He's quite a big boy. Like,
he's the blind side. Yeah, but
to have him as the open side.
Yeah, so the South African 6.
Sorry,
yeah, not
South
blind
African,
side. So the Khaleesi.
The Khaleesi.
And Khaleesi's been playing a lot of number 8, so there is a thought that maybe this year Khaleesi could move to number 8.
Or just get rid of him completely and get better as a team. That would be my solution, but what do I know?
Of the 6s, so of the last 10 years, Courtney Laws, PTSD, Peter Steph-Toy, Charles Olivon, who's again about the same size.
Yeah.
He's
France don't really do 6'7" classic. They do left, right, but yes, you're right. That mould.
He's of that.
Yeah,
he's of that. Exactly that same.
Shannon Frizzell's about 6'4".
Yeah,
I think he's 6'5". Yeah, 6'5" maybe.
Big boy.
He's big. He's big.
Jerome Kano, big boy.
Kano is another
big boy.
He's 6'5".
Jerry Collins.
Yeah, big. Yeah. So the easiest way to be good at rugby is to be massive. Comes as a shock to no one.
Massive, incredibly strong, very fast.
Ethan Root. Oh, that one doesn't work as well.
Tad Burn.
Ty Burn.
Yeah.
So, for example.
Yeah. So they're just not big enough. I think we've got loads of really aggressive, talented, smaller lads.
You mean in the tall enough? Do you just mean tall enough?
Well, you need the frame, don't you? So
to carry the weight.
If you've got the height, then you can expand.
You can carry the weight.
Maybe like Chesham. So I would back the guys. I would back to be the long-term England solution of guys like Hill, Chesham, maybe Martin on the flank.
Martin's got a big frame.
Yeah, you want the big frame, and then you can add everything onto it.
Chandler Cunningham South is 21.
He is awesome. He's going to be awesome. He is awesome. He's already awesome. But if they can coach him to be an absolutely brilliant rugby player too, and just carry on packing on that size, then you've got a proposition.
In the 2015 World Cup, when you had the pooper back row, or Hookop, the guy that made it available was Scott Fardy, who's another one who's 6'6", 6'7".
It's like you can do it, right? You can have smaller guys like two Currys and a Earl. It's not.
England did it. Like they had the Kamikaze kids.
Yeah, but you've got to work so much harder.
And then it all came unstuck. They did have Billy, but it came unstuck against South Africa.
Correct.
I think there's a lot of people who in that England camp then, Eddie Jones, Owen Farrell, others who would say we should never have got into the final with that team. It worked up until that point against everyone they played.
Yeah.
It smashed New Zealand. smashed Australia.
Courtney Law should have been on the flank.
Courtney Law's on the flank.
Yeah.
You need
Faz at 10.
Because it was Itoje, maybe Cruz.
No, I think it was Itoje and Laws.
Yeah, it was,
It was, but it would have been Cruz. Yeah, it would have been Itoje, Cruz, and Laws on the flank.
Exactly.
Makes a difference. That makes a huge difference.
With Sam Underhill coming off the bench.
Yes. Yeah. Just for the ballast.
And again, I've said it before, the Rugby World Cup semi-final 2023,
yeah.
If Sam Underhill is on the bench and not Billy Vunipola, England win that match.
And they had, who was it? I think Ben Earl was packing down at 6 or 7, and they should have put Courtney Laws behind. Yeah, whichever side was struggling, they should have put. You got Ben Earl at 103 kg or Courtney Laws at 150.
If we play this over in our head, Courts must just play stuff like this over in his head.
Because that's players who could have got certainly 2 World Cup finals. I mean, even if you do that, there's absolutely no guarantee. It's still a massive uphill battle to beat that South African team. But you. In the 2019, you just got a better shot.
So imagine that you are actually a Sale Sharks fan, and you tune into the world's leading rugby podcast, and the only thing you get to hear about your team is Henry Pollock is not big enough. Good. He's not big enough to win the World Cup final against South Africa 6 years ago. That's what we've learned. So let's talk about Sale Sharks.
Love the back three of Sale Sharks. Love the way Ford is playing, apart from the yellow card.
Mm-hmm.
So Sale, I think, they've got a chance of.
If you're a parent or share a fridge with someone, Instacart is about to make grocery shopping so much easier. Because with family carts, you can share a cart with your partner and each add the items you want. Since between the two of you, odds are you'll both remember everything you need. And this way, you'll never have to eat milkless cereal again. So minimize the stress of the weekly shop with family carts. Download the Instacart app and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply for 3 orders in 14 days. Excludes restaurants.
Hey, Prime members, are you tired of ads interfering with your favorite podcasts? Good news. With Amazon Music, you have access to the largest catalog of ad-free top podcasts included with your Prime membership. To start listening, download the Amazon Music app for free or go to amazon.com/ad-free podcasts. That's amazon.com/ad-free podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
They've got a chance of winning the league. They've got to be. So I think on their day they can beat Bath, but
I agree.
Bath are the better team overall.
Sale Sharks, I think, are the only team who have just the firepower to take on Bath
up front.
Yeah, and that's where it starts and ends. Whether they can do it or not,
Curry, Dupree, Hill. Yeah, it's pretty.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Rodden,
tell me more.
For Joe with McIntyre and someone else coming off the bench. Yeah, Rod's starting. Yeah. Rod and Opoku for Joe probably starting. Wilgriff, John and McIntyre coming off the bench, which I think was the combination they had this weekend.
Cowan-Dickey's pretty physical.
Yeah, Cowan-Dickey.
They've got some tools to wield, let's put it that way. They've still got a pair of Duprees. I mean, they're in good shape. So they would be a direct threat to Bath. Just looking at the table, the ones that have disappointed me, even though they're ahead in the table of Sale, are Leicester Tigers. Leicester Tigers pack should be absolutely formidable, and then just not doing a good enough job, I don't think.
They did well last weekend, but this weekend, not so much.
Yeah. So to me, those are the 3 most physical teams by a country mile.
Sale's midfield is where it's going to go wrong for them, isn't it?
What don't you like about Sam Bedlow and Rob Dupree? Sam Bedlow's a fine player, to be fair.
You've already mentioned how the difference between Bath is they can, Cam Redpath and Max Ajomo are out. Oh, well, we've got Ollie Lawrence and
Will
Butt
come in the centre. Yeah. Bath have got serious options. That probably is the weakest part. Cause
it's probably the only weak part.
Halfbacks Sale are great.
Mm-hmm.
The pack is great.
Rafi Quirk re-signed as well. That was good news.
Has he? I missed that.
Yeah.
That is good news, actually.
Back 3 is great, and they've got options out there as well. There was an interesting moment in this game late on where it was an intercept, and Aaron Reid got picked up a loose ball, and there was about 2 seconds of a sprint between Aaron Reid and Tommy Freeman, and Freeman just got him. Freeman did. It's a good job. It was England winning good Tommy Freeman, because I'm sure almost anyone else on that pitch, Aaron Reid would have been under the sticks.
I'm surprised Tommy Freeman could catch Aaron Reid.
Yeah. It was a very good test. It was a very interesting test.
That reminds me, I've got to mention, I completely forgot to mention, and you've only reminded me because Eddie Stevens always calls Aaron Reid for some reason, but there you go. He announces it Aaron. But the guys at Moreover did a new podcast, did a new episode. They've been off the radar for a while. One of the great OG rugby podcasts, so they're back. I don't know how regular they're going to do it. Hopefully regular, and hopefully by mentioning this and suggesting you go and check it out the Moreover podcast might actually instigate them to get off their asses and do another one. Lads, you lazy so-and-sos.
It's pathetic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pathetic. Take it seriously or not at all.
Yeah.
Like all those other podcasts that quit for summer. Pathetic.
Well, not this summer when the internationals are on. Just as the minute the internationals finish, done.
And while I'm doing, because I didn't do any housekeeping earlier, patreon.com/EggChasers. Hello to all the new patrons, and get your financial advice for the new tax year. Beardmore & Co. Financial Advisors.
Unbelievable practice. Unbelievably talented. Yeah, Beardmore & Co. Independent Financial Advisors.
And EggChasers Rugby on YouTube.
Yes, definitely get on there.
Oh, I was going to ask you a question. I think you should do a video on does playing until 42 years old in Toulon make you possibly one of the greatest rugby players of all time?
Funny, JB. I did a video like that earlier on.
Did you?
Just marvelling at Nonu still playing rugby. It is phenomenal.
And what was the outcome of said video? Because I thought it was a great idea.
What was that?
Doing this video.
Yeah, what
was the outcome of it?
What's the answer?
Well, is he one of the best?
I didn't commit. I'd said
that's such a cop
I think he is the greatest 12 of all time. I won't be
double World Cup winner.
I won't be pushed on saying he's the greatest centre of all time, but he's the greatest 12 of all time.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to do it, because there's just no way, is there, to compare him to
Bod, Conrad Smith.
No one even go with that. How do you compare him to I don't know, Phil Vickery or someone? Yeah. Like, you've got to do it as a centre.
Yeah, but even more specialised as the 12.
As the 12, he's the best inside centre the game's ever had. He's still playing rugby. He played last night for Toulon.
How did he get on?
So Paul,
yeah, he's good.
Paul,
good.
He was lined up as like back row cover, wasn't he? As in on the subs positioning, he was lined up as back, and he's a medical joker.
Joker for Charles Olivon.
The 12 who started. Is it Cowie? Oliver Cowie?
Yeah.
He was born 2 days after Nonu played a test match against the British and Irish Lions.
Oh, wow.
In 2005.
Wow.
I think it was Paul Edison on Twitter, who's big on French rugby, pointed that out. That is remarkable.
Yeah, it's incredible. 42 years old playing at that level. A lot of people will play until, not that many.
Not that many. Even to be playing level 7 like your good self, JV, and you're not quite 42 yet.
God, yeah.
You've got another 2 years to go.
I guess anyone could play for Toulon. I could play for Toulon right now. It's just how good I'd be, and I think that's the big difference.
Well, yeah, there is a difference between like getting the shirt on, like sneaking in there, getting the shirt on, and throwing yourself onto the pitch, and actually being offered a contract for them to pay you to play rugby.
But even if it was like, if the challenge was just, your name will be on the team sheet this weekend if you can be in a physical state to go on the pitch after a week of training with us. That in itself.
I'd give that a go. I'd love to. I would love to do a week's training with a professional rugby team.
Well,
I would love that.
Did you see the draft that I think it's Coventry next season are doing? It's not a draft, but they're having open trials.
Coventry,
yeah. Someone sent us a link to it via email. So Coventry are having open trials. So there's invitational trials and then open trials. But I think the criteria for the open trials are like you've got to be under 25 or 26. So we are
more devastation.
A few years the wrong side of that cutoff.
Oh God! Well, it's not open then, is it?
Yeah, open, but as long as you meet these criteria.
Yeah, so not open at all. So I like the idea that Phil's wife came up with once. How long could you play a game of professional rugby before someone realises you're not a professional rugby player?
And this is her playing it. The question is asked not of any of us, because I think we could hide out on the wing for a bit. We could get stuck in, hit a few rucks.
Do you know what I would say? I would say put me on for the last 5 minutes on the flank and let me hit every other ruck for 5 minutes. I think I could do that. I'm not sure I could hit them. No, I could actually hit them. I could actually hit the rucks.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it for 5 minutes, I think. I'm not hitting them hard. I'm just getting to the rucks.
Getting there.
And I'm hiding.
Hang
on. I've made a horrible mistake here. I've assumed that we've got the ball.
They've got the ball.
Oh, hang on a minute. They've got the ball. Now what? Yeah, this has become a lot less fun. I don't know what the answer is.
Imagine, though, you're in that situation, you're on the wing.
No.
And the spiral bomb goes up.
The box kick. The contested box kick. And Tom Roebuck's coming down on you. Oh, Jesus Christ. And he's not even the one you need to be worried about.
O'Flaherty?
Yeah.
Or a Dupree hitting you after you land?
The time you're at your most panicked, right, is when they haven't competed with you in the air. Because you know that they're waiting for you to land. You know. You've watched enough rugby, like, where is he? Where is he? Bang, dead. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine looking up with the ball and seeing Tom Curry and Luke Dupree 10 metres away from you?
I hope they're competing. Oh, they're not.
God.
Right. So I'm going for 5 minutes on the flank, providing we have all the ball.
Any of the games that we've not really mentioned? Tim, there must be some... What was your highlight of the non-Premiership games this week? Obviously, my beloved Ulster coming back from 17-0 down against your beloved Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu's Stormers.
Yeah.
Did you see the Ulster last try? What was the match-winning try from round 22?
Yeah, awesome.
That was class.
That was one moment, for sure. And I'm just looking at the top 14 results because what I was going to say, Marnonu, just him suiting up and getting on the pitch.
Yeah, that is cool.
That is very cool. And probably, and I haven't seen it now, it's Dan Lancaster.
Yeah. And your beloved Bayonne.
My beloved Bayonne and Manu Tuolangi's leading Bayonne into the playoffs. They're in 4th spot.
Who is in charge of Racing now?
It's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know either. But they are one Farrell away from me supporting them. I like the idea of Dan Lancaster doing. So Lancaster, I said this last week. Dan Lancaster was an obvious running joke because his dad picked the side.
Yeah,
but with his dad not being there, I think he's got a lot of credibility now.
And if he's beating Bordeaux,
they've won 3 of their last 4.
Oh,
and they've got 6 games left.
Yeah.
So Dan Lancaster doing this last 6 games, also damning for Owen Farrell.
It is.
It's not good.
I assume he's got not fully fit because he's had various different groin and maybe ankle issues.
What are the chances of Dan Lancaster winning the last 6 games?
What would you do? So I might go and watch MLR next. Weekend after next, actually.
When you're in LA.
I might. Yeah. So the LA are playing Rugby Club. Los Angeles are playing Utah, whatever they're called. I don't know.
Aviators or something? That was your old team.
I can't remember. Anyway,
do it.
Yeah, I might go and check it out and see what.
Go and get some press accreditation. Do a video. Do many videos. Do
Utah
they have any
Warriors.
Names
Sunday the 13th of April, Utah Warriors.
And who's the most famous player for Utah Warriors?
It is Christian Lealiofano.
Ah, nice.
Oh, no, he's for LA. I don't know about Utah, actually.
It's a big name. Yeah, definitely do that. That'd be well.
Marnonu was playing for San Diego Legion until he played for Toulon.
By Toulon.
That is so cool that he's playing.
Well, I think that's it then, isn't it? Then we're done.
We've got next week's predictions.
This is for
Champions Cup.
Champions Cup. And if you're in the Challenge Cup, just be better.
Be better.
So, Champions Cup starts Friday night. Northampton Saints, who did very well in the group stages, but are doing dreadful in the league. They host Claremont. So that is a winnable game for Northampton.
Not only winnable, I think they will win it.
I hope
don't know
so.
anything about Claremont. Tim, over to you.
Claremont are not in a good place. There's rumours that their head coach, Christoph Urios, who's like a bit of a Mourinho character. He goes into lots of places for about 2 or 3 years, and then it doesn't go well. And Claremont are at that point where it's starting not to go well.
How long has he been there, Tim?
A couple of years.
Because they were rubbish last year, and at a point this year, they looked like they were doing all right.
They did look like they were doing all right, but they're starting to not look like they're doing all right again. Now, and they're just outside the playoff positions. I would suggest that the playoffs is everything. A bit like to your point about Saracens, JB, I think the top 14 is everything for Claremont. And I think they will probably... Although, yeah, if they win, they're in the quarterfinals. If they lose, then they get a week off next week. So they could roll the dice and then see where they're at. So maybe they'll go full bore, knowing that they can make a call on selection next week. But I think they might go a bit of bin juice. Quarterfinals would be cool, but who would they get in the quarterfinals? If they come through that fixture, Northampton have got quite a favourable draw. They'll be up against Castra or Benetton.
Okay.
So it's probably worth winning that one.
Yeah, so they'll go for it.
I think they'll go for it. Now I've talked myself back round.
Oh yeah, Castra and Benetton. Yeah, so that's Friday night's fixture. And
they got a good win against La Rochelle this weekend.
They did. La Rochelle, who are really struggling in the league.
And they've got a really good team as well.
10th in the league.
Yeah, La Rochelle are not doing well. But they've signed Le Garrec for next year. And
they have
Nini Ashvili.
Who's class. 2
dynamite players.
Yeah.
And to the point about attacking rugby earlier that we were making, I think that is the way rugby's going. The trend is, like, the fact that Ronan O'Gara has signed Le Garrec and Nini Ashvili tells you everything about the way rugby's going. You need to score points.
It is until it's not, which is always the case with rugby. It is until it's not. So it'll be attacking until one day someone stops scoring points against someone, and you go, oh, why did that happen? Because they've concentrated on the fence. Because what will happen, and it always does, is the premium for all the attacking players will get so high that the value available will be for defensive players, and that's when it'll all swing round. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Some more 6-3s.
Yeah.
So I think Claremont will come full bore, but they're not very good at travelling away, so Northampton will win.
Northampton win.
It's a rematch. Didn't they play each other in the pool stages, this one?
Is there a couple of rematches? I can't remember.
Claremont play... No, they played Stad.
They
played
Castra.
They played Cast. That's it.
And Stad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so on Saturday there's a feast of rugby. So we've got 12:30. Toulon host Saracens. Saracens, who will be taking a somewhat weakened team. They will still put out some strong players, but definitely the most recent 2 England captains will not be playing for Saracens. 3 o'clock, we've got Cast against JB's beloved Benetton, and then Leinster against Harlequins.
3 home wins.
Which, unfortunately, does feel like Leinster are going to win that by about 40
Just to make sure I know what I'm talking about, these are just standalone games. They're not home and away, are they?
No. These are just one-offs.
Round of 16.
Yeah, home win. Cast, Benetton, don't know. La Rochelle, Munster?
Now, that's a game. Because obviously you've got the O'Gara connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some people call La Rochelle Yellow Munster.
Nice, I like it.
La Rochelle are not doing well.
They're not.
But they are still an enormous team. If they get the right men out, they've got such a monstrous
And also,
pack.
these teams who get late into the competition, who are not doing well domestically, it depends where they are. So if you're completely out of the playoff picture, like La Rochelle are, this might be your route to redemption.
They're not. They are in 10th, but they're only 4 points off the playoffs. So that's they're not completely out of it. But they'll back themselves to win both. Like a couple of years ago, they would have backed themselves to win both.
European champions.
Yeah,
not the current ones, but they are European champions.
Yep. With the majority of the same squad.
Now, a friend of ours who knows a lot about rugby, particularly URC, Richard Hopkins. Hoppo is raving about Glasgow Warriors. Now, they are current URC champions, and they are at home.
They're so fun to watch.
Are they going to absolutely batter Leicester Tigers, who I think, I don't know, either Leicester or Sale are the 2 most well-equipped teams to go far in Europe, I would say, from the English side.
I don't think I'd use the phrase batter, but I think they will win.
I think they will beat Leicester. I kind of know what you mean about Sale. in terms of they've got the physical attributes up front, but it doesn't matter because they're playing Toulouse on Sunday. So
yeah, it really doesn't matter, does it?
No, and like we saw this 2 or 3 years ago where Sale went away to La Rochelle, where they
emotional enough.
They weren't emotional enough. They were not even close. It was men against boys, and I think while Sale have improved a little bit, they have got no chance of beating Toulouse. The same way that my beloved Ulster 12:30 travelling to Bordeaux, they have got no chance. I mean, that is a repeat of the pool stages. It is going to be 50 or 60 points to Bordeaux. In the same way, it's going to be 50 or 60 points to Toulouse. Now we're done.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I'd love both those games. I'd love Sale and Ulster to bring the fight and it be a 5-point game. There's no chance.
What's nothing of the 8 fixtures? Which is the most likely to be an away win? Would you say, if you had to pick one to actually make an accumulator worthwhile?
Tigers, maybe. Clermont, maybe.
I'd say, yeah. I'd say it's those 3 middle ones. It's Benetton, Munster, Tigers.
Okay. Maybe Saracens if they had the full strength team, but probably not.
Or Clermont as well.
Yeah, Clermont. I said.
Yeah, Clermont, Benetton, Munster. I think are the 3 most likely.
Cast are different at home.
I'd say Clermont, Benetton. Just those 2.
Yeah. Even then, I don't.
I wonder what odds would you get on 8 home wins?
They're probably all very low. Low.
Yeah, you throw in Leicester Tigers for an away win, I think. I'd put in Leicester Tigers for the most away win. That's wish casting. And do you know what? Throw in Harlequins as well, just because it'd be fun.
There's so the 3 fixtures I'm most confident about is Harlequins losing, Ulster losing, and Sale losing against Leinster, Bordeaux and Toulouse.
Okay, what about score spreads? So biggest score is going to be against Sale?
Or Ulster.
Ulster are going to get smashed, aren't they?
That's going to be 50 or 60
because
points.
I tell you why. Bordeaux love to score points. It's not like they just want to beat you. They love to score points.
And they'll be angry that Dan Lancaster did a job on them.
Yeah.
They will. And we've seen this already. I'm just going to look up the score.
And Ulster used to be a team. I don't know what's happened because I don't watch any of their rugby. But they used to be a team that on their day could play beautiful attacking rugby. I don't know if they're still that team.
They did. They
play a lot of good rugby.
They played some great rugby. They just don't have it up front.
No.
So the repeat of this game. We saw it in round 2. Ulster 19, Bordeaux 40. And then did we see it?
Yeah, the two biggest point spreads are Sunday. Bordeaux and Toulouse.
Yeah,
and I could. I could see Northampton absolutely shredding Clermont. Or I could see Clermont actually doing quite good.
Yeah. I don't know the Clermont pack, but can they live with Clermont up front? Because that's Northampton's weakness.
Yeah, I think they can, but I don't think Clermont are that good.
Okay. So we're all pretty much predicting 8 home wins.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Let's hope for a surprise here or there.
Yes.
Right, we're done. Patreon.com/EggChasers. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Let the boys end.
Forever change the way you sleep with the softest 100% organic cotton bedding from Boll & Branch. You'll fall asleep faster, wrapped in the most luxurious comfort. You'll never sleep hot again with blankets, duvets, and sheets that feel breathable to sleep in. You'll experience pure comfort on night 1 and feel your bedding get softer with every wash. Take 20% off your first order during Boll & Branch's annual spring event at bollandbranch.com with code BUTTERY. Limited time only. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know 39% of teen drivers admit to texting while driving? Even scarier, those who text are more likely to speed and run red lights. Shockingly, 94% know it's dangerous but do it anyway. As a parent, you can't always be in the car, but you can stay connected to their safety with Greenlight Infinity's driving reports. Monitor their driving habits, see if they're using their phone, speeding, and more. These reports provide real data for meaningful conversations about safety. Plus, with weekly updates, you can track their progress over time. Help keep your teens safe. Sign up for Greenlight Infinity at greenlight.com/podcast.